Maybe. And we are live. Welcome, everybody, for another A Book and a Beverage. We are here, be blessed with Ben Schenkman, whose name is really hard to spell for me for some reason. It only has two vowels, so it really shouldn't be, but there it is.
And, and when you do try to look him up, be sure you spell it right because there's an author named Ben Schenkman. I mean, an actor named Ben Schenkman as well, and you will get them confused.
I get his email sometimes.
Nice.
You get his email?
Mm-hmm.
Really? Have you asked for any author jobs or anything?
No, I've written back to him though, so we
He
have
knows
that
who you
going.
are.
Yeah.
You should send him copies of your book. See if he wants to, maybe work on some and put them in production for you.
I haven't considered that.
Come on, if you got a famous name, man, you got to use it.
So, Ben, where are you calling in from today?
I am in I call it Middle Western Massachusetts. It's a little town called Palmer, which is like smack in between Springfield and Worcester, Mass.
Springfield, Massachusetts, home of the Basketball Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks like the Eye of Sauron.
And Western New England College, the only university in 1986 that accepted me.
Fun facts there. So, Ben, what have you written? I'm assuming you've written books, and that's why you're here. Tell us.
That would be a deep irony if I managed to get on the show and I did not have any books to show for it.
It wouldn't be that surprising, really. if we're all honest with each other here, it's not a stretch.
Almost a year ago, so it was at the end of December last year, I published my first book. It's called My Boss is the Devil. It was the first in a series called The Devil You Know. And that has now become a 3-book series. If I can just show them off right here.
Nice.
My Boss is the Devil focuses on the journey of a young barista named Nick, who is working in a dead-end job with a dead-end life and would like nothing more than to change all of that. So he gets an opportunity when the devil shows up and offers him a job. And
Did you say a dead-end life or a dead-end wife?
Life. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He would have been happy to have a wife. So no, it's just dead-end life.
All right. Got to make sure.
Yeah, no, totally fair. So yeah, he gets an opportunity to change his life by going to work for the devil, and it is not in any way what he expects because the devil isn't necessarily the bad guy.
Nice.
So what is your version of the Devil's Playground that may differ from what we are used to or from what Dante taught us?
Yeah, I mean, totally fair question. I, as everyone, and to be fair, I think I wrote the original draft of this book like a decade ago. So it was like before the Lucifer character on TV, but we all like a charismatic devil. So he's not like the cigar smoking, like gravelly voiced devil that you might expect. So he's charismatic and actually the way that I've spun the kind of Christian mythos is that it's mostly a numbers game between God and the devil, in that as far as the devil is concerned, and whether this is true or not, you have to read the books and decide. All he wants to do is to basically take custody of as many souls as possible. And the big thrust of the book is that the bad people punch their own ticket and they're going to end up in hell anyway. So the devil actually spends most of his time and resources with agents like Nick becomes, doing their best to make deals with mortals for their souls in exchange for various things.
How often during the writing of this book did you listen to Krista Berg's "Don't Pay the Ferryman"?
Ooh, you know what? Not that one. That wasn't on my playlist at the time, though. It should have been. Now that you mention it.
Yeah, absolutely. What was?
Weirdly enough, again, the first time when I drafted most of the book, it was during National Novel Writing Month in 2014, and I listened to I have a long story with this book if you want it, but it's a long story. but I listened to a lot of acoustic guitar, like folk guitar, just because I needed something that would not totally interrupt the thinking process, and I can't write with lyrics going in the background.
Yep.
Right. Folk is an interesting choice. I don't know if I would have heard folk music writing a story about the devil.
Let's just say that for the second and third book, it was a different kind of playlist.
Okay. So your book, you have 3 books right now, or 3 in that series. Are those the only 3 that you have?
Yeah, those are my only published books right now. I'm working on a couple other things, so I expect to publish at least 2 more books next year, though not related to this series. But there's at least one more, The Devil You Know, knocking around upstairs somewhere.
How's the response been to it?
It's been really good, actually. For indie authors, getting your book out there is one of the toughest parts of it, but the feedback has been very, very positive. I've got over 300 ratings now on Amazon. It's 4.3 stars.
Wow.
I've got over
There
50.
are a lot of books called The Devil You Know.
Right.
Do
So
you realize that?
the series is The Devil You Know, but the books have more unique titles.
All right, because I just typed that in to Amazon here, and we got Dr. Jane McGill has a copy, a forensic psychiatry book, a Black Power manifesto, something by Elizabeth O'Rourke. Looks like it's probably a movie. This must be some type of romance by Jenna Gregoire. Veronica Eden, that's definitely romance. Harmony West, we haven't gotten to you yet. Ali Valdi.
I don't
Veronica
think you'll
Eden.
find me searching for the series name. Funny thing though, I did rename the third book because the working title was too used. Like originally the third book was going to be The Devil's in the Details, and you don't want to know how many books are already called The Devil's in the Details.
But yeah, if it's anything like that one, absolutely.
So what is your one called?
So book 1 is My Boss is the Devil.
There you go.
And that one comes up pretty easily. The second book is called
that comes up right away.
Yeah, that one's Dueling Shoulder Angels is the second one. And then the third book is Too Many Gods in the Kitchen.
So nice. You have 326 reviews on My Boss is the Devil.
Ratings. I'm definitely over 50 reviews. I don't remember how many reviews there are, but
potato, man.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and the ratings on Goodreads are also good, and Goodreads is there are lots of different opinions about Goodreads feedback, but it's still 4 stars on Goodreads with plenty of ratings and reviews. So the feedback's been good. I entered it in the self-published fantasy blog off this year. Unfortunately, it was cut. But again, that's a contest where there can be only one, and there are some really heavy hitters that are in that contest.
When you say it was cut, did you actually get in?
Oh yeah, I got in. I was one of the 200 books that were randomly selected.
Yeah, I was in last year, and then you blinked, and I was out. So yeah, we're
Don't
familiar.
blink, I guess, is the answer there, Mike.
So my cohort didn't start reading and reviewing books until October. So I rode the coattails of I'm still in the contest for as long as humanly possible.
What group were you in?
I was in the Critiquing Chemist, and she did read my book, read the whole thing, and her mini review was extremely positive. Just didn't make the cut for semifinals.
Yep.
So, I'm sorry, I'm just reading some reviews here, as you know, I want to do.
Yeah.
As the thing is going on. Oh, look at this! I discovered a new favorite author. That's always got to make you feel good, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, and the funny thing is, a lot of it, I don't get a lot of people who hate the book. It's usually people, either they really love it or it's like, oh, it was okay, but it wasn't for me. Not a whole lot of like, this is the worst book I've ever read.
No, I was just reading some of the lower ones there, and that's exactly what they said. It's like this isn't my cup of tea, it's imaginative, et cetera, but yeah, it's not something I got into. But let me just read this first line or two. I randomly found My Boss is the Devil by Ben Schenkman on Kindle Unlimited and immediately added it after I read the blurb. So that's a good information, kids. Make a good blurb. And I'm so glad I did. I've been in a slump and wanted to try something out of my comfort zone. It's the first book of a trilogy, mix of fantasy, satire, thriller, and even has a little bit of romance. Oh no, really? Romance? That's fine. Just kidding. Sharp wit, humor, engaging storytelling, et cetera, et cetera. It goes on like that for another bit of time. So that's great. So how did you crack the code on getting reviews?
It's tough. I mean, I did my best to, I did cultivate at least a small group of advanced readers to read the books and give honest reviews. I've also done plenty of giveaways. I'm in a number of review groups on Facebook where there are people who are happy to read a book for free in exchange for an honest review. Again, like there's no, we don't pay for reviews, but giving books away in exchange for honest reviews is a tried and true method. It's just, the ratio of books you give away to reviews that you get is relatively small.
How many books do you figure you gave away?
Oh my God. I mean, I've also done like a couple Stuff Your Kindle days. There's a free giveaway called Witchy Bookworms that I've participated in like 2 or 3 times. I've given away thousands of ebooks.
Well, I mean, you got nearly 1,000 reviews, so that's going to mean something to the people who are looking through books.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what do you do? Have you quit your day job yet? Or are we not quite there?
I'm definitely not quite there. I do have a day job. I work in the tech industry for a company up in Canada, actually.
We get a lot of people, Mike. Have you noticed? There's a lot of STEM people on this show.
Yeah.
Authors who are in STEM fields.
Yeah, and then there's you.
So where the hell are all of our other English majors, and ne'er-do-wells who like took shop class and stuff?
My undergraduate degree is in theater.
All right. Okay, there you go. And then you realized, hey, I need to eat too.
Yeah, and to be fair, when I did theater, I was in theater tech, but like I also acted, so I did both in college. But yeah, my undergrad's in theater. I then decided that I didn't want to work every weekend for the rest of my life, and ended up in technology.
Now, I am going to be going way back in my memory banks here, but I knew someone once that went to UConn in stores.
Mm-hmm.
And they said that their roommate was a puppeteer major, and UConn Stores was the only school in the country that offered a major in puppeteering. Is that true?
I believe it. So I went to Southern Connecticut State University, which is in New Haven rather than Stores, but I have no reason to doubt your friend.
Well, it was a very long time ago. So.
Mm-hmm. It does sound like something UConn would do.
Absolutely. It really does, doesn't it? Let's go down to Mystic and like hang out and watch the waves come in.
I used to live down there too. I've been around.
Drink Rolling Rock. And, yeah.
So Ben, just so you know, Ro is a born and raised Vermonter. Is that what they call you?
Yes.
Or lay Americans? I don't know.
Easy, big fella.
So he knows the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So let me ask you a question that ChatGPT came up with, because it's that or me.
Because we're outsourcing ourselves to AI soon.
Oof.
So no, I don't guess I have to ask you what research you needed for building your world. It's in New Haven.
Well, I'm kind of curious of the research he needed to do to have the devil as a main character. That strikes me as someone who's been an altar boy in their life.
So ironically, no, I'm Jewish. So, so I think actually some of this is so okay. I've had a lot of experience with various religious research, including Christianity. So a lot of it comes from my understanding of things without having been raised and immersed in them. So think of it like I'm writing it like a knowledgeable outsider, which is probably why I'm feel free to take as many liberties as I do. But a lot of folks who have read my books have been very happy with what they feel the amount of research I've done is. I won't admit to how much I have or haven't actually done, but people are happy with it.
Hey, that all works, right? If what's the saying? Fake it until you make it.
Yeah. Can I tell you about the progression of the books?
Please.
Because
no, absolutely not. We're not talking about your damn books. Yeah, man.
So book one has one point of view. Okay, so it's urban fantasy, so it's first person point of view. At least it, not all urban fantasy is, but it's very on genre for it. So first person perspective from Nick, and the deity in question that he's dealing with or personification of is Lucifer. The second book, Dueling Shoulder Angels, expands on that, and we had the devil in the first book. So the second book, we get God, and I assure you, God is not the God that you expect. Though I will say to that review where it's like I found one of my new favorite readers. Someone actually said that my second book helped heal some of their religious trauma. So whatever that's worth. So the second book introduces God and then splits the point of view at some point during the book. A supporting character and love interest in the first book, Amy, who's like a goth witch, she gets a larger role in the second book, including her own POV. And then the third book, Too Many Gods in the Kitchen, I introduced two more gods from other pantheons. So you've got the devil, you've got God, and then you've got now non-Abrahamic stuff happening in the third book. And you add a third POV that I can't talk about without spoiling either of the other books.
Okay. And you said there's at least one more book in the series?
Yeah, at least one more. I've got a concept kicking around that I'm taking notes on while I'm writing my other stuff.
How much did you plot all these out before you wrote them?
I am a pantser. I have an outline. Like when I come up with a concept, I'll come up with at least like a rough outline with like main points. I also, if you're familiar with Save the Cat, I use a beat sheet to at least try to feel out where the big beats are. But it evolves as I write. Just because it's on the outline today doesn't mean won't disappear tomorrow.
So the female character that was very briefly in book one and became a main component of book two, were you aware while you were writing book one that you were going to move her into book two in a more major role?
Yeah, so she isn't, I wouldn't say that she's briefly in book one, but she is a supporting character rather than like a secondary main. So she is throughout book one. I didn't actually know that this was going to be more than one book. I wrote it ending it pretty open-ended that I could write more. But then by the time I got around to polishing the first book, like I said, it was like a journey over 10 years. And yet in the year that I was publishing that first book, I then wrote the sequel in like 2 months. So yeah, it kind of, when I thought of the thrust behind book two, having Amy as a more central character it couldn't have happened any other way.
So what are your other books that are coming out next year? What are they? Are they in New Haven? We know that. At least we said
Yeah.
that on camera. So yeah, they're in New Haven. Surprise. Tell us more.
Yeah, so just for folks who have just tuned in, all of my books currently are taking place in New Haven. You know, they say to write what you know, and I lived there at one point. I lived nearby in that same county, and I went to college there. So like I love the city, and there's so much variety in it. I haven't felt like I couldn't write more than one world using just an alternate version of the same city. And urban fantasy really benefits from a rich urban atmosphere. And so the more I know it, the better the writing is going to be. So like, why force myself to like not get, besides the fact that there's already a wizard in Chicago, like I'm not going to write in Chicago. So the first of the two books. So one book is the manuscript's already drafted. I'm working my way through some very early readers and edits. The working title is called Let Sleeping Gods Lie. And that is probably a more traditional urban fantasy from like an action standpoint. This first series, some people have said that the Devil You Know series is a little on the cozier side, which is like not necessarily normal for urban fantasy. Books 2 and 3 ramp it up a bit, but like book 1 is definitely like the stakes are lower and they're more personal than what like city or world ending. So Let Sleeping Gods Lie focuses on indigenous mythology. So Connecticut has a lot of different tribes, most of which I think are Algonquin. So you've got the Mashantucket Pequots, the Mohegans, you've got the Golden Hill Pogussets, but then the myth that that is really more based on is by a tribe that it, I can't say it doesn't exist anymore, but like it doesn't exist in a way where I could reach out to a tribal council. It's the Quinnipiac. They were never actually recognized by the state. And it's a little complicated if you look up the history. But so that book is based on some Quinnipiac myths. The main character is not indigenous. I am Jewish, not native. So I can't write from that perspective. So I'm not going to try. That's not my story to tell. But nonetheless, it's a character who has a connection to some of that. And I do address that in the book.
What are the chances that any of the action is going to take place at Mohegan Sun?
None, because that's in the southeastern part of the state, and we still mostly take place in New Haven and Hampton.
It's not a very big state, though.
It isn't, but I haven't played out New Haven and Hampton yet. How about that?
All right.
And then, so the next book, which again, so these are both standalones that could potentially become series. And in fact, a friend of mine who's alpha reading both of them will do violence to me if I don't make them series. She's enjoying them that much. But the second one, the working title is My Brother's Keeper, and it focuses on Jewish mysticism. There's actually a pretty strong Jewish population and community in and around New Haven. I was actually a member of one of the local synagogues when I was growing up. But yeah, so the book is, again, it's urban fantasy mixed with a bit of like more gritty noir vibes, where the main character is a private investigator and who's steeped in this, Jewish magic that's. And again, the conceit of urban fantasy is that magic is real. So,
So what distinguishes Jewish magic in this world then from a different type of magic?
Oh man. So the things that I've learned now, like I'm Jewish, but like I joke that I'm Jew-ish. Like I'm Reform. So, Jewish like a pork chop. And
if I can quote George Carlin, I used to be an Irish Catholic. Now I'm an American. You grow.
So there is so much actual like demonology and lore in not just like Judaism, but like Jewish doctrine. So like there's a book that's part of the Jewish scripture called the Talmud, and the Talmud, like, just legit is full of demonology. And some people are very familiar with possessing spirits called dibbuks. Like that's from Jewish mythology. Like there's a ton of just like legitimate, from a Jewish perspective, this is what magic and spirits and whatnot do and look like, and like this is how you do an exorcism, and like this is how you appease an angry spirit or apologize to the dead. Like there's a ton of stuff, and it's been fascinating learning about it for writing this book.
So do you have an exorcism take place within the context of your book?
It is quite possible that is going to occur.
Okay. And then follow up to that then is, did you that section and bring it to a member of clergy from one branch or the other and ask them if that was, because I imagine you, without very much poking around, you could find someone, one of the different flavors of religion, who has performed an exorcism or knows somebody that has, and they could tell you, and would probably be, especially if it was like a Catholic, you sit down and buy them a beer, and they would probably be very happy to tell you about it, and what you got right and what you could, do more of.
It is possible that I could do that. There are also just like documented instances of exorcism that like I found doing research that are just like in the books and whatnot.
Okay.
But also trying to find people like that online is like, you're going to find a lot of, let's just say there's a lot of mixed nuts in that jar.
Don't go online, walk up to your local rectory and bang on the door.
Yeah.
Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. I have a question for you.
So
I'm looking for someone.
So Ben, on a completely selfish note, where in the Talmud did you say this demonology is? Because someone might be writing about demons in one of his books coming up and might want to just, read over some stuff.
You get in touch. I have like a bunch of links that I can send you.
Okay, perfect. I will get in touch.
Bunch of little sticky notes on the pages.
Let's see.
Yeah, so, by the way, Ro, I was waiting for you to ask whether I was going to talk to someone to find out it was kosher. I wasn't sure if you were going to go there.
No, I didn't think of it. I said it would have been great. I should have, yeah.
So what is the hardest part of producing a book for you? Is it the writing? Is it the editing? The waiting and getting rid of all the typos before you publish?
So producing the book itself, I would say editing is the thing that's like the hardest slog for me, just because like, so I don't know about you folks, but like, so I'm neurospicy. I thrive on dopamine, and there's very little dopamine in editing, because editing, you do it once and then you do it again and then you do it again. And like, it's repetitive. It's necessary, but it's not exciting. It's not creation of like new content. And so like, it's the thing that I have to force myself the most to do.
There's a lot of dope in editing though. It's from the point of view of the editor, it's like, what a dope.
Who wrote this?
And I have to say, I agree with Tim here. Editing is my favorite part.
You're both freaking sick.
Because every time you go through, you're like, you know what? I just made my book a little bit better. I just made my book a little bit better. And how can you not be excited about that?
Pretty easily.
The Timocracy agrees with me. So
that doesn't mean it's right. I could probably go find a bunch of gyms that would agree that it's not that exciting. That
20 Bens agree.
Thank you, Isaac.
Yeah, well, he probably thinks riding a griffin is more fun than a T-Rex, so you can't trust him.
It is a necessary evil.
Oh,
excuse me.
Okay, so are we ready for some silly questions?
Yeah.
Sure.
your main character, his name again is
Nick.
Nick. I should have remembered that. I swear we're not professionals, in case you thought we were.
Nobody's ever made that mistake.
Okay, so this is a two-parter for you.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I guess it's three parts. What is your favorite holiday and why? And how would the presence of Nick during that holiday change it for you?
Ooh.
Normally we have fantasy creatures, so that makes it go way off. But you know, we got to work for it.
I'm gonna go for a secular holiday. I think one of my favorite holidays is New Year's.
Okay.
That's not a holiday. It's just a day.
I get the day off on the 1st. That's a holiday.
Okay.
And the presence of Nick there would mean that we'd all vibrate through the floor from the amount of caffeine that he produced, because Nick is definitely a coffeeholic. Like,
Okay.
hardcore.
He doesn't have like Bailey's Irish cream in his coffee, just straight caffeine.
He might, but like, so it's funny. I'm a big coffee. I don't know. You call me a snob, call me a connoisseur, whichever one you want. But I brought a lot of that into the first book, and like coffee stuff pervades all three of them. Just like in the first book, it's the heaviest.
So have you gone to like a local grinder or roaster, whatever the hell they're called, and asked if you could like package up a few pounds with a Nick special blend and make the little bags like that good enough for a couple of runs through the machine that you could sell with your book?
No, but I probably should. Like, Ro, you've got a lot of good marketing ideas.
I do. I just suck at doing it myself. But I am an idea hamster. Yeah. J4 Bailey's is not spelled anything close to that. I just wanted to say that.
Okay.
Oh yeah, no, nothing like that at all.
And I think we talked before we came live. So do you use actual places in New Haven in your book? And if so, what is your most famous landmark that you talk about in your books?
Yeah, so in the first series, I veered away from using real names. In reality, I don't know whether that was necessary or not, because nothing bad happens at any of those places. So like most of it would, I think, be considered fair use, but no one would mistake the places that I'm talking about. So for example, the main characters go to dinner at this place that I call Cafe 126. But as I describe it, it's the Union League Cafe in New Haven, which is like a very famous French restaurant there. So that's probably one of the most well-known in, I'd say, in my new book that I'm writing now. And I keep trying to get in touch with the owner, but I can't seem to find any way for him to actually reach back out to me. But there's a falafel restaurant called Mamoun's in New Haven that's been there since like 1973, and I've been going there for like 20 years. And it figures in one of my books.
Nice.
Connecticut is not the place I think of when I think falafel. And
yet, Mamoun's, so they were actually originally in New York City, but then they decided to open a location in New Haven, and they're a staple. They've been there forever.
So is there magic in your books, or is it just making deals for the devil? Or is there real hocus pocus type stuff?
Both. So in the first series, there's both. Most of the stuff that happens with Nick is primarily around like the supernatural contract law that he does for the devil. But those kinds of contracts can make like magical or supernatural things happen further into the book. So like in book 2, Amy the witch figures more prominently. So she starts introducing some more traditional like magic in the world. and that continues in book 3. So the way that I approach most of my books is that not everyone has the same kind of magic or even approaches it the same way. So in a world where you've got, devilish contract law, you also have witches with patron deities that give them power to do magic things or do divination or whatnot. My newer books, there's more straight up like, I don't think anyone throws a fireball exactly, but there's more straight up standard urban fantasy magic in my in the newer books.
So all this stuff you're saying makes me wonder, is the devil in your books like the pinnacle of all evil, or is he just like another layer in the system?
More the latter than the former. So the devil's not evil.
Just misunderstood.
Yeah, I think that's a line in the book, actually, one of them.
He's just a businessman.
He is mostly a businessman, very snappy dresser, very much wants what's best for you so long as you're interested in signing over your soul.
And what does he do with them?
He holds on to them in perpetuity. I make this joke
like a Pokemon card.
At least once in the book, and I think early on, Lucifer makes reference to a bet that was made a long time ago as to who could basically grab a hold of the most souls, and he never explains it more than that.
Oh, see, now I have the picture from the Eddie Murphy movie with Dan Aykroyd. I just forgot the name of it. Where the two old men bet like $1.
Yeah.
Trading Places?
Trading Places, thank you.
I got a movie right.
You did. That's kind of amazing. You actually saw a movie.
Well, that's in the 80s. That's allowed.
All right.
Ooh.
So are you think you're going to try your hand at anything outside of the urban fantasy genre?
I'm not sure. So definitely not. So the funny thing is, and what's the hardest thing about books once you publish them is selling them, I guess. And I'm not writing any of the genres that are like selling like hotcakes. I don't write romance. I don't write lit RPG. I've got an idea for, weirdly enough, like a post-apocalyptic epic fantasy kind of thing. So I might try my hand at a little epic fantasy, though my books tend to, like, my brain likes to write books that are about 80,000 words long. So like it's very reasonably sized, the kind that you could maybe sell to a publisher if you were going to go for trad. But the idea of writing like 150,000 word epic fantasy like makes my brain hurt. So even if I wrote an epic fantasy, it would be a reasonably bite-sized epic fantasy.
There you go. Good man. Good man.
Yeah, I mean, I think those really enormous epic fantasies really have to have something to them. And usually when they're that long, it's just because the person can't edit themselves.
Right? I was going to say, they need an editor. That's what they need.
Well, I mean, like The Hobbit's not a very long book, right? It's as long as it needs to be. And Lord of the Rings is very long, and quite honestly, you could probably lose a little bit of it. I know I'm saying that and taking my life at risk. I get that. But yeah, and that's with publishers, right? Both of those examples. So when you start getting indies involved and pouring out their souls or whatever into their books, into their little darlings, yeah, there's probably a lot of them that are a lot longer than they maybe need to be. So no one's going to fault you for an 80,000 word book.
No, I mean the deep irony of it is that so many people for their first books are writing epic fantasy. And like, if you look at the kinds of books that get picked up, again, if you're talking about TradPub, like if you're self-publishing indie, you could write as long of a book as you want. But the reality is, like, a lot of people really still want to go trad pub, and no publisher is going to take a chance on your 250,000 word epic fantasy. And like, that's not something that people like take into account. So they write these ginormous books and then like wonder why no one's buying, why no publisher is picking them up.
So at the event that Ro and I did this weekend, I had a younger guy. He came up to me, and this is, I'm not misspeaking. He said he has written a 10,000 page book. Not 10,000 words, 10,000 pages.
We figured that somewhere between 1.5 and 2.5 million words.
I was going to ask, is it single or double spaced? 10,000 pages?
It all doesn't matter.
and you get these people and you try to help them. So I'm like, I think Ingram Spark will do the largest binding. I think like 1,200 pages is the max. So if you have a 10,000 page novel, and then he kept saying, yeah, I'm going to have several special editions. I'm like, I don't know what that means, and you don't either. So
yeah.
Oh, honey, no.
I tell you, Mike should have sent it to me though, because I want to edit that book. At 3 cents a word, you betcha. You bring your 10,000 pages over to see me, because I have a kid in college, and this will hook it up.
Especially if they go dev edits first, bro.
Yeah. I don't want anybody to see it first. I want first crack at it. I don't want to get some 5,000 page book. I want all 10,000 pages.
I'm saying they should do dev edits with you and then do copy and then do line edits.
Oh, I don't want to read it for development purposes. Nobody got time for that.
You just said, Ro, I know what you're doing to retirement.
That's right. I don't need a job. I got this.
And just so everyone knows, Ro is in a secure location since he's taking shots at Tolkien. And that's why he has the background, so you can't tell what hotel he's at in DC.
Well, actually, I got death threats from Captain Janeway, so I had to hide out.
Well, why would you even worry? She just mismanaged the whole situation, and nothing would happen to you.
The Jar Jar Mafia is after me. What's your favorite Trek, Ben?
Favorite Star Trek?
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up on Next Generation, so it's hard to like not love that. I mean, I've also watched all of the original Star Trek. My mom was a huge Trekkie, loved William Shatner. So yeah, I'd still say like some of my favorites were still Next Generation.
All right, that's fair. Are you pro Wesley Crusher or against Wesley Crusher?
I don't know why he gets as much, like why the character gets as much hate as he does. For the record,
he was like a little 15-year-old dweeb that came in there and went, "Oh, I am a really smart person." Yeah, shut up.
Yeah, but like we also enjoy like hackers with Hack the Planet, where you just smash your hands on some keyboards. So like, yeah. Funny enough, though, Will Wheaton's actually one of my favorite audiobook narrators at this point.
Yeah. Will Wheaton is an actor now. I love the dude, right?
Yeah.
But
but Wesley Crusher,
seasons of Wes Crusher, no, thank you.
I don't blame him. I blame whoever wrote that character.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Ooh.
Oh, can I make mention of another thing?
Yep.
So speaking of audiobooks, Rose says no, and I'm just already talking.
No, that's fine. I mean, of course, you could talk about whatever you want, man. This is your hour, dude. You could talk about anything you want.
So I just released the audiobook for My Boss is the Devil. It was like early last month, I think. So I narrate and produce it myself.
Oh, you narrate it yourself? I was going to ask if you had a British guy play the devil, because that seems to be what everybody does now.
Yeah, no, the devil, I portrayed him as like a cross between a used car salesman and a 50s dad.
Oh, nice. So like Red Foreman.
I don't know that reference.
From the 70s show?
Oh, no, he's more angry, but like I could do that. So it's like the dad that shows up like, how's it going, champ? Like that kind of like guy.
So do you ever have him like toss out any like Yiddish curses or something?
You're talking about my newest book, which is based on Jewish mysticism, and that's actually full of Yiddish.
Okay. I just thought it would be kind of fun for the devil. I mean, the devil's got to swear, right?
There's not a lot of swearing in this series, actually, now that I think about it.
What's he going to say? I'll be damned. I mean, you know.
Nick does catch himself at one point saying that you had to give the devil his due, and then like is self-aware enough to realize what he just said.
I don't know what Isaac's talking about here. What did I miss?
I don't know what Timmy's dad is as a reference.
Okay. We've lost the flow of the chat.
The comments have gotten away from us.
Wouldn't be the first time, won't be the last.
So yeah, I'm currently working, like I said, I'm writing the Jewish mysticism book while I'm also recording the second book. So Dueling Shoulder Angels, I'm working on the audiobook of that right now. So
do you do voices or do you just straight read it?
No, I do voices.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
I was just I do have an acting background. And
your bachelor's degree.
And I can do plenty of accents. I just none of the characters in the first book. Well, I mean, one of them's Russian. I give him a bit of a Russian accent. Yeah, so I do the voices. I do accents. I do all of that.
How big a pain in the ass is it to record your own audiobook?
Ask me how big of a pain in the ass is it to edit my audiobook.
Okay, we'll start there.
a huge pain in the ass. Recording is technically the easy part. Like once you get the swing of it, you record relatively quickly, but the ratio on recording to editing is like 3 or 4 to 1. So like for every hour of recording, it's like 3 hours of editing and mastering.
Is there any part of this process where you thought to yourself, why am I doing this? I should just pay someone to do this.
I did get auditions through ACX. The problem is for the money. So the way that there's a couple different reasons, one of which is very sentimental and one of which is purely pragmatic. So we'll do the pragmatic thing first. So when I say the sentimental one, you'll forget about that first part. So the pragmatic reason is that I knew I had 3 books that I was going to want to produce, and switching audiobook narrators is always a terrible idea.
Mm-hmm.
And like the cheapest that you can go on ACX to get like a halfway decent narrator is like $150 per finished hour of audio. Yeah. And like my shortest book is like 7.5 hours. So if you're talking about 3 books, you're talking about thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And I just can't justify that because I can't. Like with a relatively unknown narrator, there's not a great reason for me to go with them versus doing it myself.
Except for the entire, days of your life that it takes to do it.
That is true. I also could have gone for royalty share, but then in the end, I would be stuck being exclusive with Audible for like 7 years, and I didn't really want to sign on for that either. The sentimental reason for why I did my own is my mom was actually one of my first, I'll say, readers, in that like she was in the hospital for something. And this was early, like I had probably just written the draft of the book like a year before.
Before you say anything about that, that's cold. Taking someone who's in the hospital
and forcing them to listen to my book,
using them as your guinea pig, that's rude, man. It's not rude so much. It's kind of, what's the word I'm looking for?
Lou would be proud.
It's ballsy in a very kind of epic way, I guess, right? It's a baller move. That's what I'm looking for.
So here's the thing. The choice was, do literally nothing because she was in a hallway in a gurney that didn't even have a TV, or listen to me read my book to her. So like she had a choice. There were no good choices, but like she had one. So so she was my first reader. And since then, like, so she still can't really read written word at this point, because of neurological stuff. And so what I really wanted was, once the book was like done and final and published, I wanted her to be able to hear the book in my voice.
Nice.
Okay, well that. You're right. That takes all the pragmatism stuff and just goes.
It's like,
Such a good son, what a good boy.
exactly. What a mensch.
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
Okay, so
Can we bring an urban fantasy into the Bald Dome, Mike?
I was going to say, Alex requested it a while ago. So
Is the devil like omnipotent kind of power level in your book?
No, but what are we talking about? What's the Bald Dome?
I have
Another viewer.
So your main character is going to get transported away to a different place because we want to find out about your main character without you giving us spoilers.
We're sending him to New Jersey.
Oh God, no.
To watch a Jets game.
That's where I was born, Ro, New Jersey.
Oh, excuse me while I just go take my foot out of my mouth.
No, don't worry. I left. I don't live there anymore for a reason.
So what we're going to do is he's going to get transported to some new novel place, which is a floating island suspended in the sky.
Okay.
And he is going to be given a fizzy potion. What's your favorite color?
Red.
A red fizzy potion. You don't know what it does, but it is 100% effective whether you use it or you throw it at your potential adversary.
And it smells like bacon.
Sure, why not? Now you get a choice. He can have a common regular item, or he can have an actual weapon. If he takes the common item, he will face a common animal. If he gets an actual weapon, he will face a fantasy creature. And all the rules of your world still hold here while he's on this floating island in the sky. So
this is not going to go well for Nick, regardless.
And we used to make it like, gladiatorial, and then some people just write books that like, but my people aren't fighters. So now it's just, we'll set the scene and you tell us what happens. So I think Isaac ended up having his character ride the polar bear out of the jungle or something, so take license with this. So You have your red fizzy potion, you're in the island floating in the sky. Do you want a regular item or do you want a weapon?
So, and when you say me, this is Nick with the
Nick.
Okay, red fizzy potion. He goes for a regular item. Nick is not a fighter.
Okay, so instead of a pole axe, he gets a hoe.
Okay.
What's he going to do with her?
Utensil, not a person.
Oh, okay. I said that for J4 because he's probably deleting whatever he just typed in that vein right now. So.
And instead of fighting a chimera, he stumbles upon a coyote.
Ooh, okay.
So Nick, holding his hoe and his red fizzy potion, turns a corner and sees a coyote that starts snarling at him. What happens next?
He breaks into the theme song to Hee Haw.
Does he doesn't know what the potion does, right?
Right, correct.
So Nick would probably say something relatively sarcastic. Look between the potion and the coyote that's snarling at him, and the edge where he cannot get away because this is a floating island, right?
Right.
Yeah, this is very much all the choices are bad choices, and he would drink the potion for sure.
Yes. So it is a potion of levitation. So he can float now up to 20 feet high off the ground, but he's still on the island city in the sky. So he's now floating.
He could jump off the island, right?
I mean, I guess if he floats 20 feet above the ground, then yeah, you jump off, and sooner or later you get 20 feet.
Yeah.
But Alex here has a very strong point. Sarcasm, super effective.
Especially if you're a roadrunner.
I was going to say the Roadrunner, even though with no words, is sarcastic as hell.
He's an asshole. A roadrunner's horrible. Take him and that damn mouse, Jerry, and just throw them both out of a bus. Anyway, start.
See, since I'm not a cat person, I always rooted for Jerry.
No. Jerry is just another form of the Roadrunner.
Yeah. But anyway, what happens with your levitating devil salesman looking down at the coyote? What does he do now?
So, given that his job confers upon him no actual devil powers at this point, because if we're talking about book one, he is an agent of the devil that can sign deals on his behalf and has no actual powers of his own. He gets a power in book two.
So he really is a used car salesman.
Yeah, I mean, they're all used car salesmen.
I mean, I want to take this to my manager and see what we can do. Hold on a sec.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just basically that. So yeah, no, he would just, assuming that he doesn't know any better, he'd probably just throw himself off the island and hope for the best on levitating down to the ground.
I love it when the plan is hope for the best.
That is most of Nick's plans at all times is make a choice and hope for the best.
It's really kind of religion too, isn't it?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Nick, leap of faiths off the island.
That is a solid answer. I mean, it's an answer at least. I don't know if it's solid.
What happens, Mike? What happens?
I'm not telling the story.
But you have the dice, man. Does he make it? We got to know what happens to Nick.
I rolled a 1. So
he's dead.
He splashes.
It doesn't work over water, and he hit the ocean like concrete.
Bless his heart.
And just before he went, he said, "I want to make it to live through this."
It's like just break out the Douglas Adams quote with the pot of petunias. Oh no, not again.
Oh, okay. Well, now you have now been to the Bald Dome, Ben.
Excellent. And Nick did not survive, which is about what would happen with Nick.
Well, we can come back in your fourth book when you'll have more than one power, maybe.
Well, yeah. The fourth book will definitely have some interesting things happening in it.
Or you'll have to come back then. What's that, Mike?
I said book 2, we could just have Amy go into the Bald Dome.
Amy would stand a much better chance in the Bald Dome.
But when he has his book launch for his book 4, we can do it again, and that he'd be like the first ever repeat person going into the Bald.
It's a rematch. That would be excellent.
Tim Wolf, I think it is actually.
Yes.
And it's not necessarily a character. Me saying it doesn't make it so.
Normally we find authors who are very close to their character, and no matter what the odds are, they say, no, my character wins. And so
Nick is a lovable idiot. He's my favorite. Like, we are all Nick. We are all a person who has been in a bad place, making the best decisions that they can, who was dealt a crappy hand. And I admit fully that he would just probably die on a floating island with a coyote. It's just like he is just a person who then goes to work for the devil in extraordinary circumstances. It's fantastic. Like, people relate to Nick because he's just some dude.
Ben, have you ever seen a television show? I think it's from the early 90s called Dead Like Me.
Yes.
Okay, with Mandy Patinkin.
I loved Dead Like Me.
What you're telling me about Nick is giving me really big Dead Like Me vibes.
Yeah, it's someone finds out suddenly that they get a chance to work for effectively a supernatural corporation doing these amazing things in supremely mundane ways. Absolutely.
Mike, I'm going to assume you have never seen Dead Like Me.
I've seen a couple episodes, but it just wasn't for me.
Oh, but it's Mandy Patinkin.
It's awesome. The girl got killed by a toilet seat coming off a spacecraft.
Yep. That's pretty epic.
You got to give it another try.
I think I actually bought it, but it doesn't mean I'm going to watch it. I mean, don't even ask me how many books I've bought. That I do not have enough lifespan left to read them all, and yet I still buy more.
Collecting books and reading books are two entirely separate things.
Right, there you go. Ben,
Well,
show us your books one more time, if you could, please.
Oh, yes.
Sorry, what was that?
Show us your books.
Absolutely. And for the record, like I love my covers. Like
Yeah, they're awesome. Yeah, they really are.
So this is My Boss is the Devil.
Who does your covers?
I actually go through getcovers.com. They're a design service out of Ukraine, I think. So like all real people, no AI. It's
No, they absolutely killed these.
Yeah, and then this is Dueling Shoulder Angels. So you've got not just Nick, but you've got Amy and then God and the Devil.
Looks like Batman, but okay.
Yeah, a little bit. It's definitely like Bruce Wayne with horns, if you remember, like from the animated series.
Yeah.
And then this is Too Many Gods in the Kitchen, which it introduces that third point of view, who I won't say who it is. And then
I'm going to guess they're Indian.
So not the person, but yeah, the good guess on the deity that I'm introducing.
Like Vishnu or something?
Not Vishnu. No.
Okay. You're not going to tell me. That's all right. These don't happen. These take place in modern day.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. That's one thing about the covers is it gives a very kind of 1930s vibe, but no, I really like the covers. They are very, you know exactly what this is, like kind of right away. You know.
Awesome.
Like
Thank you.
You could pick your books out of if you said this is my first book, then you could show me the next book without a title, and you would know it's part of that series.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So how do you sell your books? Do you go to, Comic-Cons, or do you just, by force of your personality, you persuade people to buy it?
Bingo games?
It's primarily online. They're available through Amazon, and for people who have Kindle Unlimited, all 3 books are enrolled in KDP Select, so my book is free for those people. I do go to some local events, like I did an art event in Westfield, Mass, where I sold some books. I'm going to a steampunk convention later or early next year with a friend of mine. So I'm actually part of an authors co-op. We call ourselves Caffeinated Terrier Press. And so yeah, we do some local events where the different authors who are involved in it will get together to sell books. But I mostly just sell stuff online. I've got a kid. My son's 8. I have him every other week. So like doing a lot of events on the weekends just isn't a thing that I could do. I'd love to do some more in-person, like actual book, like conventions and things. But it just hasn't been in the cards yet.
Yeah.
So do you advertise online? Do you do Amazon ads or anything like that?
So I do some Facebook ads. I have an Amazon ad running, but I spend very little on it because it is very ineffective regardless of how much I spend on it. Facebook ads have netted me more, but I still don't, my ads don't pay for themselves. I haven't figured out the code on ads. Like allegedly, the more you spend on the ads, the more sales you're supposed to get. Except I feel like everyone who says that is like writing romance and isn't writing genres that don't sell like romance does.
Which is all the other genres.
Yeah. Other than lit RPG or progression fantasy, which are also like insanely popular right now.
What the hell is progression fantasy?
Progression fantasy is like lit RPG, but I think it's a little lighter on the magic systems. It's like less prescriptive as far as like levels and mana and stuff like that.
All right. Well, that's a good place to stop then.
Well, Ben, thank you for being on the show. And when you launch your next book, keep us in mind. We'd love to have you back.
I would love to be back on. It's been a pleasure, guys.
Enjoy the lovely weather up in New England.
Yes, it's snowing right now, so I won't.
That's perfect. That's just the whole Christmas spirit. That's nice. Or sorry, the holiday spirit.
Bah humbug.
Okay, well, thank you. It is now time to wave awkwardly.
Thanks everybody for showing up. Appreciate it.
Thanks, folks.
And